The writing in Game of Thrones Season 8 is pretty awful. They stopped using the core principles that made the show great in the earlier seasons, the dialogue lost most of its fire, and the once strong characters haven't stayed true to themselves. Now, everyone and their mother have been bashing Season 8, so I'm willing to play devil's advocate for a bit and attempt to defend Season 8. The bad writing is unavoidable, but I think the closing season
So this video essay is a little confusing. While it purports to be a defense of Season 8, it's really much more of a partial triage exercise. So we're seeing basically somebody say, well, let's look at kind of like the best moments of Season 8 and then kind of balance out the score with some of the worst moments, and then we'll arrive at a much more calm assessment. Now, in principle, I think that's fine, but then the way they're doing, I wouldn't even say the argument, but the way they're selecting and picking certain scenes doesn't really add up. I understand what they're trying to do, but it doesn't quite make sense. So, of course, they're going to look at the early episodes and then get to the later episodes, which is fine, but I think for the most part, when people are criticizing Season 8, they kind of bypass the first two episodes and give them either fairly good grades or say, yeah, they're fine. They're just about average. Really, the controversies are about the last couple of episodes, so it's kind of slyly framing it deceptively. But we'll hear the person speak and then assess what they're trying to say about Season 8.
Start with episode 1, and with episode 1 we had the scene with the Umber Boy. Now, the first thing of note in this scene is the lighting. I'm gonna take a shot in the dark and guess that fire is digital and not real fire. However, they did a really good job of making it look real and allowing it to illuminate the characters' faces. It gives the scene a very warm feel, which isn't typical for a horror scene like we're about to find out, but I think this whole scene is trying to lull you into a false sense of security. They're trying to put it in your head that the Umber Boy is dead and that this is just a sign from the Night King. That is, until we find out that the boy is undead. This shot right here is setting us up for the scare. Now, the focus on Tormund is very harsh. The background behind him is very blurred, so if you're not really paying attention, you might not notice the boy's eyes opening.
If the horses last, we'll get there before the dead. We just have to hope the Night King doesn't come first.
This frame is just awesomeness. Just the detail in the Umber Boy's makeup and what I'm assuming are fake body parts pinned on the wall. And then you have the sound effects where I have absolutely no idea how they got those sounds. It's all just so incredible.
All right, I understand what the person is trying to do and trying to say, that let's not mix up these two categories, namely the writing style versus television overall, right? Because it encompasses many more things such as performances, costumes, makeup, etc., etc. But I have to say, I don't think this is a particularly strong part of episode 1. If anything, this shows a lot of the weaknesses of season 8 because it's all constructed and manufactured. Like, why is this boy here? How is he magically at the right moment becoming live in a zombie again? And in terms of the camera angle, I think it's actually showing the complete opposite, saying, wow, it's really interesting how here's Tormund and there's the zombie kid and the eyes are slowly opening. No, it's like, why would the camera be placed like that? Who is the narrator? Why would the narrator want us to look at it from this angle? The answer is obvious, because they're trying to get a certain horror shock moment. Well, yeah, we know that already. The question is why, in terms of the narrative, this would be happening. And also, what about the other characters? It's true that Tormund can't see the child. That makes sense that he's surprised. But what about the other characters? Are they not looking at the zombie child? What are they doing? Are they distracted? To me, it seems like you're actually proving the complete opposite. You're proving that they're doing a lot of shock value. It may look good, but it really doesn't make any sense. And then when you go back to it, you're like, wait, what was this? What was the whole point of this? I thought this was going to have a bigger payoff in terms of some kind of symbolic value, or it was going to be a foreshadow. Instead, it just seems like, okay, yes, you're using special effects. It looks good, but what does it mean exactly? It just seems really empty. But you're right. There are little things about it that you can praise, like the cinematography. It does look very beautiful. The costumes look fine. But then even by your own standard, this seems a little strange to praise this, especially because the sound design is really terrible. Like, the thing is just, it's like, Why is it screaming like that? Is that how all zombies scream when they die? Is the Night King doing something with the Umber Boy? Like, again, there's just a lot. This just brings up a lot more questions than answers. And so you can say, well, it's visually well done and well placed. Okay, that's fine. But if we're going to keep to that standard, then you're going to have to be very harsh when things like the Starbucks coffee happen. Then you're going to say the production value just went down radically into the other area. So I understand where this is going. We're going to listen to more of the cutaway essay, but it seems like what the person's saying is that there were just a lot of good things in season 8. Nobody is denying that there were good things in season 8. Nobody's making that case. They're saying that even with the good things, that really there's not much to look at. If you had to pay good money for this, it's just a waste of time. Really, you'd be stuck with just paying for the first 2 episodes. And even that one, I'd say you don't want to pay full price because it's really not worth it. As for the rest of it, collectively, it's still going to get a really, really low score if we're being honest about the whole value of the whole thing. Not just the writing, but the performances, the costumes, the makeup, etc., etc., etc. But, etc., etc., etc. But it's an interesting way of going about season 8, and we're going to listen to more of the essay. But at this point, it's sort of like, okay, it seems like you're really just focused on the superficial aspects and not really engaging what the criticisms are, at least in my opinion. This has been Game of Thrones Analyzed on revising opinions on season 8. Thanks for listening.